On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 2017. We're going to be taking a look at a-ha, and they're going to be performing an acoustic version of Take On Me. Hello, Phil here from Wings with Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So let's get Morten and the gang up on screen and see how they get on.
Talking away, oh, I don't know what I'm to say, I'll say it anyway. Today is another day to find you shying away. I'll be coming for your love, okay, and take on me. Take me on. I'll be gone in a day or two. So needless to say, I'm odds and ends, but that's me, I'm stumbling away, slowly learning that life is okay, and say after me, it's no better to be safe than sorry, and take on me. Take me on. I'll be gone in a day or two. And all things that you say, is it life or just to play my worries away? You're all the things I've got to remember, you're shying away. I'll be coming for you anyway. Take on me. Take me on. I'll be gone in a day or two. I'll be gone in a day or two. In a day or two.
And there we have it. That was one of those performances that you just can't jump into, because this version of the song just puts that song in a totally different light. And you could argue that by changing the melodic component and not going up all the way to, on the original, I think we have E5 that Morten would be hitting during that record. But by bringing it down the octave, it means that you get to hear the lyrical content even more clearly, because sometimes it can get lost in the narrowing of the vowels as you ascend in your range. So this just puts the song in a totally different light, like I said, and it almost puts a different meaning to those lyrics as well because of the arrangement and the fantastic guitar work going on. The arrangement as a whole is so minimal that it allows Morton's voice to just sit in there and be the focal point, and what a voice it is. This is also a great example of a song that is just a great song, and it doesn't really matter the arrangement or what you do with it, the amount of melody that's in there that is so strong. We're actually missing out the main hook that we get on the keys, the synth sound, as it was in the 80s. We're missing that out apart from the little solo that we do go into that is an instrumental section. But it is so stripped back that the strength of the melody just carries it through, and also the talent not only of the band as a whole, but this guy at the front of the stage, and the voice, the range, the control, and we will get into the vocals in a second. I'm probably not going to have time to cover any of the history of the band, but an important thing to mention about this song is the video that came with it in the mid-80s, because that's when it was released. It was such a unique video and a standalone video because it mixed real life footage with almost drawing that you'd find in a comic book, and that's how it was set up. That was the whole story to the video, and that won 6 music video awards, and it was a standalone video that was so interesting. I've always thought, how did they do that video and mix together the animation with the live footage of Morton in that? And looking into it just quickly, it's something called rotoscoping, where they filmed the whole video, and normally they use a green screen or a blue screen. If you know about chroma keying, then you might start to understand how it worked. But anyway, I find this kind of stuff interesting because of video editing that I do here and with my music videos. But anyway, they filmed the whole video live, as you would do normally, with certain parts with a blue screen or green screen. And then when they finished, they gave the footage to somebody who would then draw it, and it was Steve Barron who directed all of this, and they would draw out every frame of that video. And for a standard video, it's 30 frames per second, so it means that they did 30 drawings for every second of that video. It took 16 weeks, but it meant that they now had a hand-drawn version of the video and the actual live footage, the video footage original that had Morton in real life, and then they put those two together, just placed one over the top of the next. So it is complicated stuff, but interesting nonetheless as to how they achieved that final product of the video, and the fact that it was in such heavy rotation on MTV that it really helped this song to get out there and become a massive hit. But it was just such a strong song from every single aspect initially anyway. So I've got the guitar out just to show you guys the chords quickly and to show you the way that it's been put together. Obviously, I haven't sat down and studied this and slowed it down and listened to it in detail, so it is going to be a busking version of it in case you want to play along, but it's pretty close. It is fingerstyle, so you can do away with your picks for this, and we're starting in B minor. And the important thing to mention here is that my thumb is going to be skipping down from the A string to the D string, like that. And that was my second finger taking care of the B string, and my first finger taking care of the G string. Like that. And then we're shifting up to, I've got my thumb over, and this is exactly how Paul's playing it, with the thumb over the top of the guitar, holding down this G sharp, and you can think of this as an E over a G sharp, because I'm only playing the top 3 strings of the guitar, so my E string, the B string, and the G string. What you'll find is whenever you do type in the name of a chord, you'll usually see 5 or 6 options. I tend to just stick with calling it an E because we've got our octave of our E shape just higher up the guitar, and then just placing in that G sharp. So That's what I'm calling it. So once we've played through our E over a G sharp, we're then moving down to an F sharp minor, which is going to sound like that. And again, we've got this fingerstyle on the right hand, but I'm playing more than Paul is in this performance. It's really subtle, the way that he comes in, because there's also the keys that fill in so much of the sound. So it's a really subtle way of playing. You'd only pick more strings if you are performing this yourself and you want to fill in a lot of the sound underneath your own voice. But this F sharp, we then have a D chord, nice and easy, and I'm picking all of the strings there, and then the little finger comes over, and I've gone to the D sus2 shape, but now my little finger, as you can see, is playing a D flat, or a C sharp, depending on how you're feeling. So sticking that all together, and bear in mind, I am going to be plucking this with the right hand a lot louder than you normally would if you're playing this dynamically, just so the microphone can hear it. So we've got this B minor, and then back into the B minor, and you just repeat that twice. So quickly getting into the verse chords, exactly the same first three chords. There's just that little A that we jumped to before then starting on the B minor again. So that was... And again, I'm picking more strings than Paul does in this performance, but just so you can hear it and the progression, the way it works. So the only thing to look out for the third time through that progression of chords, we change to a D in order to get into the chorus. So we've got this shine away, I'll be coming for your love, okay. So that's the D. So the chorus chords, A, E over the G sharp, F sharp minor, same chords again, and when we have a jump back up to where we just were, and then we start again, A, and then C sharp minor here, into the F sharp minor, into a D, into an A again, and now we've got this G sharp diminished, which is that shape, back into the F sharp minor. It might be the case that Paul's playing a higher voicing of it, but you can just go down to that second fret if you want to a D. Then to finish off the chorus, we've got the A, the same E over the G sharp, into a D, and then a little slide up, which then leads us into the whole verse, which will then go around again, which we've already been through. And if you do want to just strum along with those chords, you can do, as long as you make sure you're muting the appropriate string at the right time. It'll all be fine with those chords that I've just demonstrated. But I do want to get into a little bit of vocal analysis, because this guy, Morten, has such a range and control of his voice, considering as well that this was only a few years ago, and there are multiple videos on YouTube of him nailing this vocal live. Something that you'll find on the internet, people talking about Morten's voice, saying that he's got such a strong falsetto sound, and this is something that often gets confused and debated on the internet as to what falsetto is, what head voice is, and for me, he's just got a strong head voice, and it's not a falsetto sound, because falsetto, first of all, you can't hold a note for any length of time because of the amount of air that is flowing through the vocal cords, as they're not connected, or they are connected in such a tiny amount that a lot of air is allowed through those chords. So Morten can hold these notes for ages, right up there in his range. So that suggests that it is just a head voice connection that's going on. And the reason that falsetto is called falsetto is it comes from the Italian for false. The male tenor, high C, the C5, being able to hit that in chest voice was what they trained for, and other people would hit that note in falsetto. So they're not having a closed coordination with their vocal cords. They're open, therefore it's a lot easier to do, but it sounds false. It's not a real sound that you get. If anything, I think it's a way of saying it sounds a little bit silly because it's got so much air in the sound that it isn't a true vocal cord connection. So when you're listening to Morten sing and he hits these really high notes, it doesn't sound like he's gone to a different part of his voice that sounds fake. It sounds connected. So I think it is this really connected, controlled head voice that Morten has when he sings. And another thing that I want to throw in there is that it sounds so connected, it's almost like an inhalare la voce sound, which, if you don't know what that means, it's inhaling the voice. Again, it's another Italian term that's used for making a sound breathing in through your vocal cords. And a lot of people also think that you can't do that, that even though you're breathing in, the air is coming out of your mouth, but it is actually possible to breathe in and get head resonance and get your vocal cords to connect. For example, if I went, ah, I'm breathing in. And to demonstrate that, I can blow all the air that I've inhaled out into the microphone because it is there. So when I'm watching Morten hit these notes so effortlessly, it is almost like he's singing up to a point and then using inhalare la voce in order to hit these high notes. He's probably not doing that, but because it's such a quality connection of the vocal cords, it does sound like what I just did then, really high up in his range. It is such a full sound that he's got the ability to get his vocal cords this connected when you breathe in, and it's a lot easier to do. He has that when he breathes out. And it is such perfect vocal technique. And the proof really is in the pudding that he's singing a song from the mid-80s, a long time ago, at his age now, still nailing it and still having that perfect technique. Obviously, in this performance, we're not getting the E5 that is in that original, but we are still getting a C sharp 5. So that holy grail of C, that is a note that we're surpassing here. And then the way that Morten brings it down, obviously it has a more dramatic effect musically and emotionally. It is interesting to see some of the members of the crowd crying and getting emotionally involved in this performance, considering the original, when it is up tempo and you listen to that version, I'm sure not many people cried or felt that emotionally involved with it to that extent. But because of the way that the melody has changed and the extra emotion you get from the clarity of the lyrical content and the delivery that Morten gives here, it's so much more dramatic emotionally and musically. Because of the slower tempo, you get to appreciate Morten's vocal technique even more, and you can hear his registers, where his voice is going. For example, just in the chorus of this song, we have chest voice where it starts at A2, and you can hear when he ascends from chest voice into mixed voice, which is a mix of chest and head voice. And then at the end of the chorus, for that high E5 on the original record and the other live performances, he's in his head voice. But even for the C sharp 5 that we get in this performance, you can hear that closed coordination of the vocal cords. For me, it's just too bright a sound to be falsetto. And I know that people can get a great falsetto sound and reinforce their falsetto, but it still doesn't have this kind of bright ping and strength to the tone. Also, something that I do want to mention that I actually prefer in this live version when comparing it with the original is the melody line vocally of the middle 8, the bridge, because in this live performance we have things that you say. So Morten pretty much keeps it on that same note. He has a little dip. Things that you say. But for me, is so much more melodic than on the original record. It has a bit of a random jump up in pitch. So I haven't had time to get into the background of the band, any of the history. It's something that maybe I'll be able to cover in the future if I do another video on Aha, but if I do, there's every chance that it'll just go like this again. There's so many things to look at and be impressed by. But thank you guys so much for suggesting this video for me to take a look at, and keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!